Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Sinead. Aherne. Today's top stories. Iran has warned the US to expect crushing revenge after one of its top generals was killed in an American airstrike. A man's died in a workplace incident in Waterford. The family of Imelda Keenan, who went missing in Waterford 26 years ago, are appealing for information. And in sport, Jack O'Donoghue's included in the Munster lineup ahead of tonight's Pro 14 clash away to Ulster. Iran's leaders are promising revenge after the US killing of one of its most powerful military commanders. It marks a major escalation in tensions between Washington and Tehran, as Sean O'Regan reports.
Qasem Soleimani spearheaded Iranian military operations in the Middle East as head of the elite Quds force. The 62-year-old was killed at Baghdad airport early this morning alongside 6 others in a strike ordered by Donald Trump. Washington says he was targeted because he'd been planning attacks on US diplomats. Professor at Tehran University, Mohammed Morandi, says America will pay a heavy price.
This was an act of war. The Americans assassinated a senior Iranian military official, a person who was a war hero in Iran, and also a person who helped save Iraq and Syria from ISIS.
Scott Lucas from the University of Birmingham outlines how Iran is likely to respond.
I think you may see attacks on American interest and possibly Western interest across the Middle East by Iranian allies. I don't think this will expand, for example, to an open, as it were, war inside Iraq.
Both countries have been responding to the news. On the Iranian side, Supreme Leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei says severe revenge awaits. In the US, former Vice President Joe Biden has said Donald Trump has just tossed a stick of dynamite into a tinderbox, while President Trump himself has simply and proudly tweeted a picture of an American flag.
Gardaí in Waterford are investigating after a man died in a workplace incident yesterday morning. It happened in Newtown, Kilmacthomas at around 11:30. He was working on a car that rolled off a hoist, causing him serious head and chest injuries. The man was pronounced dead at the scene. The family of a woman who went missing in Waterford City 26 years ago has again appealed for information. Imelda Keenan was 22 years of age when she vanished from William Street on January 3rd, 1994. Gardaí say despite multiple searches, as well as national and local media attention, they've been unable to locate Imelda or explain her disappearance. Imelda's brother is Jerry Keenan. He says they want closure.
They're not known yet. We have said it every year that maybe next year we'll get news. We have waited, and we still have no news. And the not known or the closure is a very hard thing on the Keenan family.
He's determined to keep campaigning to find her.
The whole family has been affected in different ways. I'm not going to go into detail, but yes, it has put a grey cloud over us for the last 26 years. But as I said, as long as I have a breath in my body, I'm just going to keep on campaigning. So I am.
Marion Finucane's being remembered as the trailblazer for her extensive broadcasting and charity work. The veteran RTE presenter's sudden passing was announced yesterday evening after she died at her County Kildare home at the age of 69. Tonight's Late Late Show will pay tribute to her with contributions from friends and colleagues. Former Waterford Senator Catherine Babulia knew her well.
I had the honour indeed of being a guest on her programme on a number of occasions. And also I have a family connection with her in that her mother and the wife of a cousin of mine were sisters. So I knew her on 2 levels, I suppose. But mostly, like all people in this country, I knew her as a radio broadcaster of immense talent and ability, pioneering, liberal, just a remarkable woman.
She explains what it was like to be interviewed by Marion Finucane.
It was always agreeable in that she had a very happy knack of being able to put you at your ease, and she had a smiling, friendly, interested demeanour, and she started off with very soft questions, but then they got tougher and tougher. And you just admired her professionalism. It was evident.
Visitor restrictions remain in place at University Hospital Waterford in order to help prevent the spread of flu. The hospital's appeal to people to only attend if it's absolutely necessary. People with flu-like symptoms are advised to phone their GPs in the first instance rather than presenting at UHW's emergency department. Dr Paul Gallagher, a representative for the South West Hospital Group, has this advice for visitors.
I think people need to use a common sense approach here. If somebody is feeling unwell with the symptoms of the flu, by attending somebody who is unwell, they're at risk of transmitting that flu to the person that they wish to see. If they can use a mobile phone to speak to the person in the hospital, then that would be desirable. If there are extraordinary circumstances and they do need to see that individual, then they should make arrangements with the ward managers in the hospital.
There's no respite for people in Australia as the effects of wildfires are not expected to ease. The town of Brighton, northeastern Victoria, has been evacuated after fears 2 fires in the area may combine into a monster inferno. Many areas are still experiencing temperatures above 40 degrees. Blake Johnson is a reporter with 7 News in Australia. He says the past 6 weeks have been exhausting.
Bushfires burning and homes being destroyed and people being killed. It's exhausting, all these adjectives we throw at it, being the worst summer ever and catastrophic fire conditions. It is exhausting on the firefighters, it's exhausting on locals, and anyone in charge of keeping people safe here has just got an absolute task ahead of them.
One of Waterford's best-known restaurants has been sold. L'Atmosphere was opened in Henrietta Street 15 years ago by Aherne and Patrice and has won many awards for their French cuisine. Auctioneer John Rowan says it's not known at the moment if it'll continue as a restaurant.
Arno and Patrice have sold the building and the business and they are going to do other things. We don't know who the new owner is. I'm hoping that it'll be a restaurant and we feel it will be a restaurant, but we do not know. And Arno and Patrice are still around and will still be doing business.
A teenager has been hospitalised following an aggravated burglary in Cork City overnight. 2 men broke into a house in the Ardvalia estate of Mayfield, armed with a hammer and knife at around 1:45. A man in his late teens was injured in the incident and taken to Cork University Hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No arrests have been made and Gardaí are appealing for witnesses. Drivers may not be able to tax or sell their cars if they've unpaid motoring offence fines under new proposals from the Court Service. It claims the Fines Act is flawed and needs to be overhauled, as Casey O'Riordan reports.
The Court Service no longer wants to be responsible for collecting fines. It's revealed to the Public Accounts Committee that it also wants TV licence fee dodgers not to be dealt with by the courts, but by adding a fine onto a person's property tax bill. PAC Chair Sean Fleming isn't impressed with the attitude of the Court Service.
They have a bit of a neck saying everybody else should do the job we're doing. If they required extra staff, they should have said that a year ago.
Other suggestions include abolishing parking fines in favour of clamping and preventing drivers with unpaid fines for motoring offences from being able to sell or tax their vehicle. AA Ireland's Conor Faulkner thinks the ideas are logical.
But if they could get the administration right, it certainly is a simpler way of doing it, and it in effect becomes self-policing.
The Court Service's proposals will be discussed at a meeting of Department of Justice officials who are reviewing the Fines Act when they meet in 2 weeks' time.
WLR Sport.
And a very good afternoon, I'm Gavin. Whelan. First to soccer, and Manchester United manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer insists the club fully support the decision for Paul Pogba to have an operation on his ankle. He said earlier this week Pogba's people had recommended the midfielder should undergo surgery. Solskjaer has attempted to clarify his comments.
That's maybe my bad English, or it's, you have people you trust and you speak to, and as I said, when I did my loads of injuries, knee operations, I had my people in Norway and Sweden that I spoke to.
Sheffield United have completed the signing of Jack Rodwell on a deal until the end of the season. The former Everton, Manchester City and Sunderland midfielder had been on trial with Chris Wilder's side. They were beaten, of course, by Liverpool last night 2-0 at Anfield. Sadio Mane and Mo Salah with the goals as Jurgen Klopp's side went 13 points clear at the top of the table. Conference B leaders Munster make the trip to Ulster this evening for rugby's interprovincial Pro 14 derby. Waterford's Jack O'Donoghue is included in Johan van Gran's side. The Red Army haven't won in Belfast since 2016. Meanwhile, defending champions Leinster have made 14 changes for the visit of Connacht to the RDS in the Guinness Pro 14 tomorrow. Flanker Will Connors is the only player retained from last weekend's win at Munster. Johnny Sexton appears to be winning his race to be fit for the start of the Six Nations. The Ireland out half is ahead of schedule in his recovery from a knee injury suffered while playing for Leinster against Northampton last month. A strong second half comeback by the Waterford footballers wasn't enough last night as Limerick booked their place in the McGrath Cup final in Fairfield. The Shannonsiders prevailing by 2-10 to 10 points. Waterford manager Benji Whelan was delighted with the attitude of his players, particularly with their second half performance.
The scoreline I don't think kind of reflects our performance, and what it's all about for us is performance. We're trying to steadily improve, pretty much a new group of players. So we were short a number of regulars tonight, but the performance out of the boys that were out there is fantastic. I couldn't say enough good things about it. Worked their socks off. It's stuff I suppose we're trying to work on. I suppose are the errors, and that's going to be part and parcel of bringing a new group in at this level. So all in, really happy with what I saw there this evening.
Waterford make the trip to Milltown Malbay to take on Clare. That coming up on Sunday afternoon. Do indeed tune into WLR later on this evening, just after the 6 o'clock news. The Lorna Porca selection box will air from 6:10 this evening with Tomos. That includes a mixture of the highlights and lowlights from Waterford hurling, football, camogie and ladies football in 2019. So an action-packed show between 6 and 7 this evening. That's the latest on WLR. Our next bulletin is at 2.